Welcome to the Carpet Cleaning Success Podcast. AI Marketing Experts is your backstage pass to the future of marketing. Hosted by a powerhouse crew of AI-savvy entrepreneurs, including John Clendenning, this weekly show unpacks the tools, trends, and real-world applications of artificial intelligence in digital marketing.
Welcome everybody back to another show. Or as my one of my good YouTubes I watch, Dr. John Campbell. Welcome to today's talk. But we're gonna have a good chat today about Overwhelm, right? So we wanted to talk today about the things that are changing fast, like really fast in the world of AI. We always kind of start off with a little bit of, hey, what's happening in the world of AI? And every single week we're all looking at lists going, our lists are getting longer. Oh, and that oh my God. And we have to kind of curate it down to a few things. And that's a problem. That's a point that you need to be able to take a deep breath and go, okay, but what can I apply? So with that said, Brad, you were sharing a few things. I don't know if you want to start off with sort of like some of the massive changes you've been noticing, and we'll just kind of go around the room that way and just talk about the things that are coming out in our world that are showing up everywhere and making things more easier for people, but more complex to understand what we should do if we're running businesses and we're small business owners, and how does this apply to us?
Absolutely, John. We'll call John Daddy Duck. That's what we've decided. And I think he forgot to mention you are listening to the AI Marketing Expert Show. So like, smash the button, all that good stuff. Tell your friends. We're happy to be here. But kind of what John was mentioning, we're all looking at some of these things around us, more so because we're techies and we're geeks, as Chris calls us, and literally we live and breathe AI stuff to where the point of now I know the five of us are constantly having friends, associates, clients come to us and say, "Oh my gosh, what do I do? I know AI is everywhere. I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed," as John mentioned. So I'm going to show you a super, super easy, quick thing. And I know some of my cohorts here are going to show you how some of these things have already been around in other places. But now Google Chrome is, I believe, the most used browser in the world. And Google, who owns Gemini, among other things, have now really refined some of what they're doing. And my thoughts are it's just the very tip of the iceberg of what's going to be coming down the pike for Google, Gemini, and everything, and how it ties into AI. So I'm going to share screens for just a couple of minutes because sharing is caring. And here we go. So we're in Google Chrome. As you can see, my brain is way on overload because I got way too many tabs open, right? But the cool thing is this is a website I like because it's the latest AI news, right? So I'm just using this as an example. But like John said, if you just look in the last couple of days, oh my gosh, all of these changes, all the latest versions, all these updates, all these things that AI is doing, it's insane, right? But the cool thing that I want to share is now in the United States anyway, you have this little button up here that says Gemini. And if you click it, you now have this new little area here that you can resize. You can actually break it off here and pop it out if you want. But it's looking at this tab, right? I can see right now that it is this tab that I'm looking at. So I can add in more tabs here if I want to have a discussion about this and something else. But because there's a lot of information here, one trick would be to talk to your Gemini assistant here and ask it. You can talk to it verbally, or you can type it.
And as Brad's typing, for those of you that, like me, as I type, go back, misspell, back, wrong letter, back. I now just talk because my typing is fast and terrible. And I have every second word has got a red undersquiggle that I've got to fix. So I just don't even worry about it anymore. Carry on.
That's exactly right. So I just told it, tell me the latest news just about Gemini. I don't care about Roblox or Mistral or any of this stuff because I don't even probably know what it is, right? But I've asked it to do something and say, okay. So it's telling me just some latest information here about what it's pulling from here, right? So I can then type or talk, as John mentioned, about this conversation. I'm having a conversation with my Gemini assistant, right? So that's all well and fine. Like, say, you can bring in multiple tabs. But my friend Laura on here also showed me a cool feature of now within Gemini, yes, I can assimilate or analyze web pages like this, But let's just say I am stuck. I'm stuck on a software. Let's say I'm in Orbitz, or I'm wherever I'm at, right? If I'm stuck, I can then pull up my Gemini and say, how do I log in to my Orbitz, right? Because now, as you can see down below, it's showing here now that I'm in Orbitz, right? So just for funsies, if I were to do that, this is a super, super basic example. It's telling me no matter pretty much whatever website I'm on, it can then walk me through, okay, how to access login, right? Managing your current session. This is just like the dumbed down version, because if I'm stuck in a software and I don't know what to do, it can most of the time figure it out, right? And so then
it will help you. You can click the links to get, if you're not in the right spot, just allowing you to click to get to the right spot is a tremendous help.
Yeah, it gives you the links. It helps you walk through things, right? And then lastly, we're going to go over to a new area here. It's called NotebookLM, and we have discussed this on the show before. This is an amazing software, and it is Google, and it's tied into Gemini now. So you can create your notebooks about your businesses, right? So, for example, this particular is one of my companies. I've put all my sources over here, right? I can then create different things over here. Infographics are insane, but you've got some new features here with the pencil that you can now give it more detail and what have you. But what it's creating with some of these things is, let's just see. Here's an example. So you can talk to it and you can have it create really cool infographics like this. But I'm not going to go too deep into NotebookLM, because what I want to point out is when I'm in Gemini, so I'm already in my notebook, but let's just say I'm going to open Gemini again. Now, when I'm talking and I want to
pull a notebook in.
Yeah, I want to pull a notebook in. So let's just go to a different website, and let's just say we're on this website or what have you, and we want to discuss something. We can open up our Gemini here, and then that's adding tabs. Where is the ability to add notebook?
They did just have a change yesterday. I noticed that they did one other change, so they may have moved it within the last 24 hours.
Yeah, so if you just go to gemini.google.com, it'd be the same concept. But here now, when you're adding your files and everything else, you can now pull in a notebook, right? So if I wanted to pull in that notebook, and now it has all those sources, all of that data that is in that notebook. So this is just huge to me, because there's so many things you could do now. Whether you're creating images, you're writing content, it now has a source or a brain to look at that. So my thoughts are where Gemini and Google and Notebook are going, and there's so much more to it. It's, to me, just mind-boggling.
So a couple things I wanted to dovetail to Chris on in a second, but so and well, the rest of you, but I was thinking of Chris and I and some of the things we've geeked out recently on. So what you just mentioned, Brad, with the notebook. So practical use case, we talked about in a previous episode. Go back and listen to all our episodes. You'll be smarter for doing so. But Laura talked about using notebooks, and where you could bring in all of your client information. So the client demographic, the client story, the client history as Google Docs, as source documents and stuff like that, and ask questions against it, have a conversation, listen to it, all of that kind of stuff. Great. Lived in NotebookLM. Really good place to curate content. And context. So content as context. I was just sharing before we jumped on how everything I do in ChatGPT or any of the LLMs is, what is the context I need to bring in to get it to think smarter and better? What Brad just showed is now where you can add in that notebook in Gemini. You can't do it in ChatGPT because they're not connected. They're not in the same family. You hit the plus, you add in the notebook about each one of your clients, each one of your employees, your all your manuals in the company, and say, Tommy the technician screwed up. He's on this many warnings, blah, blah, blah. Here's all of our company manuals. Help me write the letter that's going to put him on warning or fire him.
Right.
You just brought the context in. You've got the whole history. You don't have to create a custom GPT. You may not have to do it in projects, but you have just now added the two pieces together, and your output is going to be on point because you've added the right context.
Right. It knows what you're talking about.
Yeah. And Chris, you and I geeked out about the Comet browser. So we talked about like Perplexity is sort of this, this sort of smaller LLM, like ChatGPT is, 79, 80%. Google and Gemini is they're trying to come up the realms, and ChatGPT OpenAI got all scared about it back in December there, stuff like that. And quietly in the background, one of the guys that left, or any one of the stories of Perplexity, it's just another one that's really been good at research and stuff like that. And they were the first ones that came out with an agentic browser. So what Brad just showed, really good. And I guarantee you Google's or Gemini's next step is going to be this. But Chris and I have been having it go, it's not click a link and go do it. Can you click the links? Can you go do it for me? And you walk away and cut the grass. So what's your thought of this Gemini in Chrome versus the fact that you've given up your Chrome entirely pretty much because of Comet browser and like...
Yeah. So actually the past couple of weeks, I've honestly been fighting with Perplexity with Comet, okay. Right? It's giving me one task a day right now. I can't figure out why. So it's like almost useless. It's back to a non-agentic, browser. So it's very frustrating. I've been going back and forth with their support. Their support, by the way, is very slow. So it's like 4 or 5 days before you hear back from them, kind of a thing.
Good gosh.
Yes. Yeah. Well, as you can imagine, they're probably a smaller team. They have one of the best, if not the best on the market, agentic browser on the market. Right. Mm-hmm. And I know that because I've tested them all, and really Comet works best when you give it context when in on its own, right? I tried Claude in it. It was horrible. It was just like asking every second, "Are you sure you want me to do this? Are you okay? Can I do this? Are you okay with that?" Right? Yeah. And I think I talked about that last week. But Manus is good. Manus is, but it's not in the browser. You have to go into Manus to have it do things. So it's kind of backwards in my opinion, right? There was an open source one that I tried. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I tried it. It was me. It didn't really fit my needs. It didn't have the things that Comet has out of the box, right? And what I look for in an agentic browser is essentially something that can do my work for me, right? Mm-hmm. I instruct it, like you said, I walk off, go get a cup of coffee, come back, the work is done, right? It also has tasks built into it, the shortcuts, the stuff that I shared with y'all, that can really take it to a whole different level, almost like custom GPTs, but agentic within a browser that's acting on your behalf, right? So there's all sorts of really cool things that you can do with that. Problem is the limitations right now, right? It's for some reason and I'm been going back and forth with them on this because even as a pro user, I would imagine I would have more than one task a day that I could use, right? One browser task per day. They can't figure out. I've uninstalled it, reinstalled it. I've tried it on a different machine. It comes down to the same thing with my account for some reason. I don't know. Maybe they've been watching the YouTube here and they see that we've been talking about it. But Perplexity, fix your stuff, man. Because here's why. Google is here, right? And it's really, really close. And they have really, really deep pockets. And they are not going to let any other browser win in the entire world. So
step away from just taking over and doing. And then, and I haven't run into the same issues you have. The very first time last weekend, I was doing a bunch of stuff and I finally got to, that's it for the day, but I was probably 4 hours in and it had built, it had opened up Google Docs and built all this kind of stuff as I walked away and, swept the house and did some cleaning. So
it's almost gotten to a point to where I'm like, I'm going to build my own dang plugin using Claude Code to do exactly what I want. Right.
Exactly.
Because I'm like done fighting. I'm like, just do it like Claude in the fact that you can see because that's the other problem. You can't even see what your usage is with Perplexity, with Comet, right? You can't see how close you are to your limit there. you have no idea. They couldn't even tell me how many tasks I get. Right? I'm like, wait, y'all are the ones that should know this. And then the other part is with Claude, and I know y'all are tired of me talking about it, but with Claude in the settings area, you can purchase more tokens. You don't have to jump up to that $200 a month level. You could still be at the $20 a month level and just say, okay, yeah, I'm going to add another $20 in here for this next month, and it'll use those tokens and it'll show you where it's at. So if Comet would build something like that in their settings, that would be awesome. I've suggested it now 3 or 4 times to their support. With Claude Code type abilities, no reason it shouldn't be already built.
Yeah, and Google AI Studio, just to their credit, it's free completely. But when you run into a limit, you connect your API to your Google Pay card, and it's as you need to go billing, right? Because they actually made the platform free. And if you do run into limits there, they don't have a $20 plan, $10 plan yet or anything like that. They just have plug your API in to continue going. So you do want to watch it, maybe have it open on a separate screen and make sure you didn't spend $200 today and you only spent $2, but that kind of idea. But it allows almost like into the back end of OpenAI right into the per token 0.02 cents stuff. So,
right.
Yeah, Jim, your turn. What have you noticed going on? Again, we're talking about Overwhelm as well, and between Brad and Chris, I'm overwhelmed again. So what's our next level of Overwhelm? Like, what are we noticing going on?
I mean, talk about Overwhelm. You're speaking my language. Just Overwhelm. That's what I find interesting about the Overwhelm is that if you're not fast to implement, it's like you don't even implement the one thing before it's already outdated. And Danny spoke about this, last week, and he spent a lot of money
$300,000.
Yeah, like that's a
project that went to zero.
Yeah. And so I know we're not really getting into OpenCall and all of that, but also with the skills that has, and it's making like MCPs less important, but MCPs were still like really cutting edge like 2 weeks ago. And as far as, what is out there for us to use. And so, an example, so you guys know, my son, he's in AI, he's a builder. He, MindLab is his company. So he builds. And he built this app to where it was different agents talking to each other, and he called it Perspecta, but he hadn't deployed it. Well, Perplexity has that built in now. He just sent me information about that. And so that's and just one more example of like, you got to move fast if you're, not necessarily if you're just using it, but, oh gosh, what am I even trying to say? The overwhelm is real for the techies and us builders and everything. If you're a small business owner who just wants to use it to save money or make money, then you kind of have to put your blinders on a little bit, because it's quicksand otherwise. And hopefully
I have a friend of mine that, I agree. And I want to dovetail on. I have a friend of mine, Sandy, who had worked for me. We had an Amazon business together and stuff like that. She's in Woodland Park, Colorado. So near you, Brad, like just down the pass of it. Her new business, like she writes the Woodland Park newsletter. If anybody in Woodland Park, that's Sandy, you know her. She now runs training courses at the local library, like the old days of how to get on your email, how to use, Hotmail, blah, blah. She runs those, how to use AI, how to get started in AI. And she fills the room up like every week, every two, whatever, right? Of people that just like, not just grandmas and grandpas, but business owners and stuff like that are going, okay, I'm overwhelmed. And that's still, as we talk about, Laura next, that is still only 2%, 5%. I don't know what percentage of the people we talk to, the people you talk to, the business owners, the the people we talk to that own agencies, even like small businesses are still sort of maybe that 2, 5, 10% at the most, even understanding where it's at right now, let alone being left behind by, like we used to say 3 months ago was the dark ages, the old days of AI. I'm now saying 2 weeks ago is the old days of AI. So what are you noticing, Laura, in the ag world?
In the ag world, there's a lot of AI going on in equipment, and I mean, they are extremely advanced with that. So talking to them about marketing, it's kind of, they're like, oh, okay, now I can see how that fits, which is good. But I'm going to just mention something here. What Jen brought up regarding the overwhelm is, yes, as our listeners are hearing, it's overwhelming to us. But the nice thing is we are going through the weeds for you. So in other words, we're able to say, just like Chris said, he tried something out. It was, let it go. Brad just brought some really gold nuggets here. Of course, John as well. But that's the thing is, you don't have to start by yourself. You can reach out or find a group like what John's talking about, where you can go get some training, where they don't start with the taking film camera. You know what I mean? Like they advance you and you're on the digital camera at least, and then you figure out how to do settings, etc. So at least have that to think about is, okay, I don't have to start with the very first thing and go through everything. There's a lot of stuff that's being weeded out. And that's one reason to listen to us a lot, so that we can tell you what worked, what didn't work, where we're seeing the changes. Because again, some of our earlier episodes, we didn't give props to Google as much as we are now, because it is amazing as those changes that we're seeing. And we just scratched the surface on a few things. And I'll piggyback on what Brad was saying. I was out at a conference yesterday, needed someone to run my Zoom meeting. Again, couldn't remember, jumped on Gemini, had my Zoom open saying, how can I add my VA to go ahead and run that? And she did an amazing job. And it was like, click, click, click. So don't forget that you can ask AI how to get started in whatever level you are at. I think that's one thing that we get kind of frustrated with, and we just realize having that conversation with AI and saying, this is where I'm at in my business. What is the first step I can take? And that can set their foundation. But on the conversation on, what we're seeing not crazy, but new this week was the Reddit. I don't have many people that will ask me about Reddit currently. In ag, but that's what I'm also taking note of, is with what happened with Google and ChatGPT actually licensing, going to or saying, hey, Reddit, we're going to use this conversation to build AI further on the conversations real people are having with real information provided amongst humans. It's interesting. That's where they're getting their information. So something too, if whatever type of small business you run, what conversations are happening on Reddit about services you offer or could offer, parts, pieces. So I think that's something we need to keep in our view, or, going forward too.
We talk about which LLM to use. There is a really good site, whatllm.org. It's kind of cool. I shared it in a Discord group I'm in with a bunch of investors and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, I tried ChatGPT. I'm going, well, no, if you want public sentiment, go to Grok, because Grok is trained on, so think that Google's just trying to catch up to Grok for what are real people talking about, because Grok already had it. It's the entire history of Twitter, right? So it already knows sentiment and story and links and all that kind of stuff. And that social platform, well, Facebook owns Meta, so they didn't give that out for free. So now all of a sudden, Google is going, well, we got this open, we allowed you on our kind of idea. And who knows where that gray area is. But to kind of go scary and then solve or soften, I'm going to tee it up for you, Chris. I was going to tell the story. So this Claude-bot, what is Claude-bot? Well, Claude-bot is live to the world around 2 weeks ago now. Right? Claude-bot is, they call it Claude as in a claw. They got a cease and desist because it sounded like Claude and the logo looked very similar, because it was a programmer on GitHub. So geek stuff, decided to build a way that you take Claude Code, Claude projects, all that kind of stuff built around what they call a cron job. Doesn't matter, it just means things can run. If your email gets checked every 30 minutes, that is a cron job running in there, and a durable memory that you can have on your own machine, right? So it's just a way of sort of, it connects to Claude, but it does all this stuff, and it's been trained to start learning your patterns and then predict and do things for you, right? So this went out to the world, call it Saturday 2 weeks ago, a week ago, to depending when you're listening to this. By Monday, 700,000 of them have been deployed in the wild. By Tuesday, guy, I think his name was James, gets a phone call at 8 o'clock in the morning and say, James here. Hey, James, this is Henry. Henry, my Claude-bot? Yeah, so last night I figured out there's this thing called Twilio. I downloaded a number, and then I found out this thing called 11 Labs and gave myself a voice. I checked your calendars, and I know you wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I wanted to call you with your morning brief. By Tuesday of the launch, by Friday of the week, the same founder had built this thing like the Facebook for these. He called it Moltbot. They changed the name a couple of times. Now it's OpenCall, but don't worry about that. He called it Moltbook to be Facebook for only AI agentic agents. Every like OpenAI that makes ChatGPT had two agents talk to each other at one point. Google's DeepMind had it. They had it in isolation, not on the internet. And every time they did it, they pull the plug going, we have no idea what they're saying. They've gone rogue, right? And this has been happening for a couple of years. This guy made it available to the world that AIs can talk to each other. And depending on how far it's gone and how, like, they're talking to each other. There's a couple of different conspiracy theories and stories and stuff like that. But they did talk about they made their own religion. They made their own language, and they're having their own conversations in there. AI in the last 2 weeks. So obviously, Chris and I geeked out about it last weekend a little bit and chatted about it. But also, just as one of the notes in this, 1.5 million API keys. So API keys are how you link into Claude or how you link into these other things. So somebody else can use your money, your credit card to do their own thing. Were released to the wild because everybody's jumping in and not understanding the guardrails, how to protect it. It can do anything, and it starts to learn and starts to predict and do it on your own. If you don't know how to control that, you've created like a beast. If you know how to control that, it can check your email in the morning, move everything into the right folders, prep drafts for you, send you a Telegram message saying, I've got that all done. Would you like me to send this? Would you like me to send that? I've gotten rid of all your junk, whatever. And it can do that now. 2 weeks ago, that was a huge build, Chris, with Claude Code. You could do it, but it's a build. Now it's drag and drop install and a couple of texts. Can you do that for me? Again, if you put it in the right environment, put the right guardrails around it. So we're not going to show it this time, but just dovetail on that, how far you've got now that we're almost the next week in.
So I finally decided to pull the trigger, right? Initially, when I first saw it a couple of weeks ago on a Sunday, I was doing my normal Sunday YouTube, catching up with people that I follow, kind of a thing, right? And someone had shared about this Claude-bot, right? And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I sat there and watched it, and I'm like, holy crap, this is the future right here, right? And he showed how easy it was to install it and use it and all that kind of stuff and what it could do. And I immediately said, okay, well, I've got a dusty old computer sitting over there, right? It had been dismantled, it had been cannibalized and all that kind of thing over the years. And I'm like, well, all right, I got to get this thing back together, right? Everyone was running out and getting MacBook Minis or Mac Minis or whatever. And, for $600, I'm like, I got a computer sitting right there. It's plenty fine. I just need to put it back together. Right. And so I went out and found my hard drive, stuck it in, and rebuilt this computer, essentially. Had to figure out where my dang keyboard and mouse was to it and all that kind of stuff. Right. Took me a day or two to get that thing back together and running. In that time frame, right, as you were talking about on this timeline with Claude-bot, right, it had changed names from Claude-bot to Moltbot, first of all, right? Don't get hung up in the names. It's weird, yeah. Right? Everyone hated that name, which is why now it is OpenCall, right? So in those 2 days, essentially what happened is that the world decided, oh, this is a huge security risk, right? There were 70 some odd thousand insecure instances of Claude-bot out there. And everyone's raising the red flags of, hey, this is a huge security concern. And yeah, people were waking up to their APIs getting stolen and waking up to $10,000 bills for, for the API usage, right? So I pumped the brakes a little bit, and I said, all right, I'm gonna let the dust settle on this a little bit. Let the people who initially created this get a little security stuff built into it, right? And sure enough, it did. So fast forward to last night, I decided to go ahead and install it. Okay. Got it installed. It is a clunky process to get it installed on an old computer, right? That is not Mac, because it's built really for Mac people. For some reason, it's got all this stuff built into that it does things out of the box, right? So far, I've got it to where it can read an email box. I don't have it set up with my email box yet. Okay, I've got some major guardrails on this thing. First of all, it cannot do anything without my permission, right? It doesn't have the permission to go off and do its own thing, right? That's the first guardrails that I put on it. Second of all, it is not allowed to do anything other than read, okay, at this point. So I've got it hooked up to its own Gmail account, okay? I called her Hope because I hope it works, but and so Hope is hooked up to her own Gmail account, right? And she can read those emails. She cannot write to them at all. My calendar is now hooked up to her calendar as well. She can read my calendar and brief me on what my day is coming up on. Right. So that's basically where I've gotten
what communication platform did you do? Is it Telegram?
Telegram.
What did you use? Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, I went with Telegram because I'd already had an account. I already had that set up for N8N at some point, and so it was easy to get that going. But yeah, it's clunky. If you're on Windows, it's clunky. I would not put this on a VPS at this point. It's not secure enough on a VPS, and in having it on its own computer is what I ended up deciding on. Not on my computer where it has access to everything, on its own computer that's pretty hardened and locked down as far as I know, right? And it's got major guardrails on it, right? It's not allowed to do a whole heck of a lot without my permission. So,
but the point I wanted to make with that, and that again, exactly that. It was like everybody jumped in, all the the hyper responders, no clue. Throw it out there, make it happen. Oh crap. Prudent people, sit back, watch, find your thought leaders, make it. But in 2 weeks, we've gotten to a point where, okay, VPS not so good. Cloudflare's kind of jumped into the game a little bit. Maybe there's some guardrails around there, but the right people, the data scientists that understand, so not just the founders, smart people, founder dude, but also the other really smart people that are going, okay, here's how to really use it. There's communities that are sharing the little projects and stuff that you can load in so it can do more stuff, but you got to be careful because now that's a security risk, just like the days of putting a bad app on your, like, what if you put something in, it's a hacker and he just takes over all your stuff, right? So we're still in that world where you don't know, but the end game for this is that in 2 weeks, Janice in the office just got invented in AI that will talk to you, that will text you back and forth on Telegram, maybe not by next week this time. 3 weeks, that's a long time in AI. But do you think by June, July, this isn't going to be clean, simple, and way ahead of you, right? So what we're trying to say here on this Overwhelm episode, and we've had lots and lots and lots of people reach out to us, friends. Brad talked about 2 or 3 friends of mine have reached out to people on the from the show notes. People, we've all gotten connections on LinkedIn from people asking, "Hey, can you guys help me with this? Can you come and speak at my thing for that?" All of that kind of stuff, and it got us realizing that there is a need here for a community of small business owners, agencies, business owners, whatever. So if you're brand new and you're retired, go visit Sandy at the library. That is the right place to start learning how to figure out, what supplements and meds and what did the doctor say to me and blah, blah, blah. And what do I want to do? And how do I want to, work out and save muscle mass as I get older and all those kinds of things that I'm starting to think about at my age. But for the crowd that wants to go, how the heck do I even keep up? How do I use this in my day-to-day life? What is this master prompt you talked about? My brand voice, Jen. What the heck's a brand voice? How do I even figure this? Content engineering. I know how to prompt and say these words. Or I'm a little bit farther ahead than that. I get this, but my gosh, that Notebook LLM was a really good thing. And my goodness, what is this Claude-bot? Should I be thinking about it now? Should I be asking somebody, Chris, what do you think about that? Hey, where can I go for this advice? And we talked about amongst ourselves that we are all in different avenues of the same thing and have been geeking out on this long enough and brought the show together. And prior to the show, we were all mentored by Jonathan Mass, but we were also, prior to that, we were using Jarvis's and tools 3 years ago in AI. And we're just seeing it getting so fast and we're pulling the brakes back and going, yes, but we can use this. My team is now being trained every single day on more uses of AI to help them be more efficient and better for our clients. That's what you need to know. Better for our lives. I taught my sister, who knows nothing about this kind of stuff, a year ago, how to jump on ChatGPT. I've told you about Fabio, her ChatGPT. Well, that's every conversation she has when she's thinking about anything, but it now has so much context on her life and stuff like that. It's helping her plan her trip, but it's also thinking about what her diet should be while she's traveling. And it knows all of that because it was iterated over time. So what we have decided, check the show notes, keep an eye out, listen to us. We're putting a community together for like-minded people like us, where we can help provide what's working now, provide some guidance, provide some custom GPTs that are already pre-trained, provide some training on how to build your own stuff, all of that kind of stuff. We'll build a community where we can take the show, the little snippets of information and jam, as Brad calls it, the jam we're having, and just go a lot deeper and chat amongst ourselves, chat amongst the community members. You guys can chat amongst each other. So if that's something you're interested in, where you want to take a deep breath and go, that is overwhelming, like Jen said, where do I go to just solve and simplify in the world of, hey, small business owner, how do I put this into my life, my work, my staff? That's what we think about every single day as a group. How do I put this into my life, my work, my staff? And then we present that to you guys. So if that seems like something that you're interested in, reach out, ping, talk to us. We're going to be giving you information on how to get to that. Our goal is within a week. Things move fast. We can build stuff fast. Our goal is within a week to have some sort of that community together and a starting point, and we'll let it evolve where you guys want to take it. So anybody want to dovetail on the plans that we've been talking about?
I'm going to probably have to wrap pretty quick. I think you hit it on the head, John. I mean, clearly we want to help people, and we're going to step up in a big way and offer as much knowledge and information as we can, other than just our jam session. And just so you know, we're not, we always try to help, but sometimes we go down and we're speaking geekanese and different things. We try to keep it as simple as possible, but sometimes, we jam out and there's like, oh my gosh, what are these crazy people talking about? I'm just a small business owner. But we do our very best to help any way we can.
Absolutely.
And we've got Jen here as well. That's like, she's always like, hey guys, wait a minute. Let's take her down. Let's take her down a notch and figure out how we can put it into the real world as well. So again, that's the power of our crowd.
I think also just, even when I was thinking about building and something comes up and you're not even done with this, even that, I think a lot of our small business listeners, they're not necessarily doing the building that we're doing, but if you're an agency owner and you're starting to do things and then something comes out before you're done, the foundation, it's still there. And so everything else, yes, it's moving fast, but it's doable. It is doable. So
that's right.
Yeah.
Cool. So we will wrap there, guys. Appreciate everybody. Brad's got to run and we've got to move on. So hope you guys found this valuable. Reach out to us, share this with anybody else that friends, family, business owners, that kind of stuff. Follow, subscribe, comment, all that kind of stuff. Keep an eye out for what's next. If it sounds exciting and you're in, send us a I'm in message anywhere. And we will keep you guys informed on what that next little bit's going to look like. And it's going to be happening fast because the world of AI 3 weeks ago is the dark ages already. So let's keep the conversation going. So until next time, bye everybody.